What you should never talk about with a dismissive avoidant if you want peace. There's a quiet kind of tension that builds when you talk to a dismissive avoidant. You can feel it in the pauses, in their flat tone, in the way their eyes look away just when you're opening up. You might think, if I just explain myself better, maybe they'll understand. But no, because what pushes most people closer tends to push them further away. They don't respond to emotion the way you expect. They respond to pressure with withdrawal. So if you want peace with a dismissive avoidant, you need to know one thing. It's not just what you say, it's what you should never talk about. First, don't talk about feelings in a way that demands emotional openness. For you, sharing feelings might feel like intimacy. For them, it feels like exposure. Many dismissive avoidants grew up believing emotions were dangerous or unnecessary. When you say, I feel hurt when you pull away, you're trying to connect, but they hear, you're doing something wrong. And that triggers their defense. They'll either shut down, change the subject, or say something dismissive like, you're overthinking. Don't take it personally. Their silence is self-protection, not punishment. If you want peace, express yourself once, calmly, without expectation. Then let it rest. Dismissive avoidants respect calm more than emotional intensity. Second, avoid talking about the future too soon or too often. When you ask, where is this going? Or, do you see us together long term? You might just want reassurance. But to them, it feels like pressure, a threat to their independence. Dismissive avoidants need to feel free to choose closeness, not forced into it. When you push for labels or long-term plans, their mind equates it with losing personal control. They start to emotionally retreat, even if they care about you. The irony is, the less you chase security, the more they relax and stay present. Focus on what's real now. The present moment is where they feel safest, and that's where peace lives. Third, don't bring up their past like you're their therapist. You might think exploring their childhood or emotional wounds could help them understand themselves better. But dismissive avoidants hate being analyzed. Their detachment is built from years of emotional survival, not ignorance. So when you say, maybe you avoid closeness because of your childhood, they hear blame, not care. They don't want to be figured out. They want to be accepted. If you want to connect, show curiosity through calm energy, not probing questions. Let your empathy be quiet and unconditional. They'll open up in their own time, not on demand. Fourth, don't try to have relationship talks during moments of distance. When they pull away, you'll feel an instinct to fix it. Text more, ask what's wrong, or try to re-establish connection. But that's exactly when they need space the most. To a dismissive avoidant, emotional intensity during withdrawal feels suffocating. Their silence isn't necessarily rejection, it's regulation. They're trying to return to emotional balance by being alone. The more you chase, the further they'll retreat. So the best thing you can do is nothing. Stay calm, grounded, and patient. When they sense you're not reacting or pressuring, they begin to feel safe enough to come back. Peace with them often means mastering your silence. Fifth, don't talk about love in your emotional language. You might say, I need to feel close to you, or I wish you'd be more affectionate. But a dismissive avoidant doesn't equate love with closeness. They equate love with freedom. They show affection through quiet loyalty or small acts, not through emotional displays. When you ask them to open up, they feel like you're asking them to give up control. Instead of pushing for verbal love, observe their consistency. Do they show up? Do they stay even when emotions rise? For them, that's love. When you stop demanding emotional proof, you'll start seeing their quieter version of affection. Sixth, don't try to fix the relationship with heavy emotional talks. To you, those talks might feel healing. To them, they sound like conflict. A dismissive avoidant sees emotional repair as confrontation. They don't want to dissect problems. They want peace, even if it means ignoring what's wrong. So every time you start with, we need to talk about us, they feel cornered. Instead, demonstrate emotional maturity by staying composed and choosing your words sparingly. Sometimes peace isn't found in conversation. It's found in calm presence. The less you dramatize, the more they trust your energy. Seventh, never talk about your need for reassurance. This one stings, especially if you have an anxious attachment. You crave closeness. They crave distance. You say, do you still love me? and hope for comfort, but they hear, "I'm being controlled emotionally." To them, reassurance feels like pressure to perform feelings they can't fully access in the moment. It's not that they don't care, they just express it differently. You'll have more peace by self-regulating your emotions instead of seeking constant validation. When they see that your peace doesn't depend on their response, they start to feel safer emotionally. And ironically, that's when they become warmer. Eighth, don't make comparisons or ultimatums. Saying things like, "Other people communicate better," or "If you don't change, I'll leave," may seem like boundaries. But to a dismissive avoidant, it sounds like control. They don't respond to threats. They respond to emotional calm. If you truly mean to walk away, just do it. Quietly, gracefully, without drama. Ultimatums reinforce their fear of losing freedom. Calm detachment, on the other hand, earns respect. A dismissive avoidant is far more likely to reflect and return when they feel you're not emotionally chasing them anymore. Ninth, don't talk about their behavior as a flaw. Words like "you're cold" or "you never open up" only confirm their deepest insecurity, that they're not good at relationships. They already know they struggle with emotional intimacy, even if they'll never admit it. Criticism makes them withdraw harder, while gentle acceptance lowers their defenses. If you want peace, lead with compassion, not confrontation. Validate their effort, not their avoidance. You'll notice small shifts when they feel seen rather than judged. 10th, never talk with the intent to change who they are. The dismissive avoidant identity is built on independence and control. When you try to make them more emotional, more expressive, or more attached, they sense danger. Their nervous system interprets it as losing autonomy. That's why emotional persuasion never works. It only strengthens their resistance. The paradox is this: the moment you stop trying to change them, they start to change. Your acceptance creates the very safety they need to evolve. So stop trying to pull emotion out of them. Let them come to you in their own way, in their own time. At the heart of it all, peace with a dismissive avoidant doesn't come from having the right words. It comes from understanding their emotional logic. They're not heartless, they're cautious. They learned early on that closeness leads to loss of control. So when you approach them with patience instead of pressure, calm instead of confrontation, they start to soften. But here's the secret most people never realize. Dismissive avoidants don't actually fear love. They fear dependency. The moment you stop depending on them for peace, you stop triggering their defenses. You become emotionally neutral, and that neutrality is magnetic. It tells them, "You're free to come or go, but I'm still whole." And that's the only kind of love a dismissive avoidant can truly trust. So if you want peace, don't try to pull them closer with words. Pull yourself back into balance. Protect your energy. Speak less, feel more. The right silence can teach them more about connection than any conversation ever could. And when they finally realize that your peace isn't a threat, it's an invitation, that's when real connection begins.